I won the lottery and gave her brother a car. Now she's furious she wasn't first to know. They say money changes everything. What they don't say is how quickly it reveals who people really are, especially when it's hidden in your sock drawer for 6 months. When I scratched off that last box and saw the number, a 7-digit number, with more zeros than I'd ever seen in my checking account, I didn't scream. I didn't even smile. I just sat there in the parking lot of the gas station, holding the ticket like it was radioactive. I remember thinking, this can't be real. There's no way. But it was. I triple-checked the numbers. Took it to 2 different places to verify. It was legit. $5.7 million legit. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my coworkers, and definitely not my girlfriend, Maya. Now, I know what you're thinking. You selfish bastard. And maybe I am. But if you knew Maya, if you saw how her eyes lit up at expensive restaurants, how she always forgot her wallet when rent was due, how she once cried because I bought her silver earrings instead of white gold, you might understand why I kept my mouth shut. We'd been together 3 years, and in that time, she'd never once asked how my day was. Not really. Not unless it ended with, "Can you Venmo me for brunch?" So when I won the lottery, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The money sat in a private account under a shell corporation, a trick I picked up from some Reddit thread at 3 a.m. I spent 6 months planning, thinking, watching, seeing how people treated me when I was just me. Maya was Maya. Same as ever. Beautiful, moody, manipulative. I won't lie, I loved her. Or maybe I loved the version of her I thought I was dating before she moved in and started treating me like an ATM with a penis. But her brother, Jordan? That guy was something else. He was younger, mid-20s, scrappy, working 2 jobs, never asked for a damn thing. I liked him. A lot. He'd crash on our couch when his roommate got too loud. And he always brought his own groceries, even if it was just ramen and Red Bull. He once fixed our leaky kitchen sink without being asked, just said, "Hey man, saw it was dripping, figured I'd help." So when I bought the Tesla, midnight blue, long range, top of the line, I didn't hesitate. I handed Jordan the keys with a crooked smile and said, "Happy early birthday, bro." He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "Dude, what? It's yours. No strings. You serious?" "Dead serious." His eyes got glassy. I don't even know what to say. "Then don't say anything. Just drive." Jordan didn't ask questions. Maybe he assumed I was dealing drugs or finally sold that terrible screenplay I used to talk about. Whatever the case, he hugged me like a brother and peeled out of the driveway like a kid on Christmas. Maya didn't find out until 2 days later. I was eating leftover Chinese when she burst in, phone in hand, eyes blazing. "Why the hell is my brother posting pictures of a Tesla with your name on the plates?" I didn't flinch. I'd been rehearsing this moment in my head for weeks. I gave it to him. She blinked. "You gave my brother a Tesla?" "Yep." "With what money exactly?" I shrugged. "Savings." Her face twisted into something ugly. "You live paycheck to paycheck. You borrowed from me for groceries last month." That was true. It was also a lie. I'd borrowed from her just to see if she'd say no. She didn't. But she complained about it for weeks. "Maya," I said calmly, "do you remember the gas station down on 8th? The one with the weird smelling air fresheners?" She narrowed her eyes. "Yeah. So, I bought a scratcher there. 6 months ago." Her mouth parted. "What?" "I won $5.7 million. Silence. "You're joking," she said, voice trembling. "I'm not." More silence. This one felt like it had a heartbeat. "You didn't tell me," she whispered. "No." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "You told Jordan before me?" "I didn't tell Jordan anything. I just gave him a car." "Oh my God," she hissed, pacing now. "You gave my brother a Tesla, and you didn't even think to, I don't know, include me? Your girlfriend." I leaned back in my chair. "Why would I?" She stopped cold. "Excuse me. Why would I include someone who treats me like a backup plan?" Her face went pale. "You never cared about my dreams. Or my bad days. You cared about what I could do for you. And guess what? That list just got a lot shorter. Are you breaking up with me?" Her voice cracked. "I'm setting boundaries," I said, standing up. "And you can either respect them or keep pretending this was ever about love." She stared at me for a long, long time. Then she left. No suitcase. No goodbye. Just the door slamming behind her and the echo of her heels on the stairs. I stood there for a while, watching the shadows dance on the ceiling, wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, or the best decision I'd ever been too scared to make. She left without a suitcase, but took every ounce of self-delusion I had about who she really was. The apartment felt different the moment the doors slammed behind her. It wasn't just the silence, it was cleaner somehow, lighter. Like someone had cracked a window in a room where the air had gone stale months ago. I stood there, listening to the buzz of the fridge and the distant hum of traffic outside, and realized something quietly devastating. I didn't miss her. Not in that moment. Not even a little. The next day, Jordan came by, grinning like he'd won something too. "Bro, this car," he said, pacing my living room with a coffee in one hand and his phone in the other. "It drives itself. Like I actually took a nap in the backseat at a red light. I'm not even joking." I laughed, but it felt hollow. He finally stopped and looked at me. You okay, man? She found out. About the car? About everything. His face fell. Shit. She's gone. Jordan sat down heavily on the armrest. You want me to talk to her? I raised an eyebrow. What would you say? Hey sis, sorry your boyfriend gave me a car and not you. He winced. Fair point. I think it's for the best, I said, meaning it more with every syllable. I didn't realize how much she drained me until she wasn't here. Jordan nodded slowly. She's intense. That's one word for it. There was a pause. He sipped his coffee and looked at me carefully. So what now? You go buy an island or something? I smirked. I was thinking smaller. Maybe just a house where the faucet doesn't scream like a banshee every time I turn on the hot water. He laughed, then got serious. You know, you didn't have to do this. Give me the car. I would have been happy with just dinner. I know, I said. That's why I gave it to you. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running back every conversation I'd ever had with Maya. I realized that for the last year, we hadn't talked, we negotiated. Every discussion was a transaction disguised as affection. If I go to your friend's party, will you buy me that bag? If you take me on vacation, maybe I'll consider moving in full-time. If you loved me, you'd cover my half of rent just this once. Only just this once had become a monthly ritual. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was embarrassed by how long I let it go on, by how afraid I'd been of being alone, of admitting I'd chosen wrong. And then, of course, she came back. Not physically, but digitally. It started with a text. Maya, we need to talk. Please. I ignored it. Maya, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to blow up. I was just shocked. Then, Maya, can we just meet? One coffee. No drama. Please. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I did. I wanted to see what her apology would look like in person. I wanted to see if she'd changed. Spoiler, she hadn't. We met at a little cafe she used to love, the kind with plants hanging from the ceiling and overpriced tea that tasted like boiled garden hose. She showed up in a trench coat and red lipstick, like she was playing the role of apologetic girlfriend in an indie film. She sat down, folded her hands, and gave me a look so earnest it almost fooled me. I'm sorry, she said. Truly. For what, exactly? For making you feel like you couldn't trust me. For taking you for granted. For not being the partner you needed. I nodded slowly. That's a good start. Look, I was scared, okay? I thought we were building something, and then I find out you've been sitting on a fortune for months and didn't say a word. Did you ever think maybe I didn't tell you because I knew what would happen if I did? She flinched. That's not fair. No? Because the moment you found out, your first reaction wasn't to ask how I felt. It was why didn't I get something too? She opened her mouth. Closed it. I leaned in. I didn't tell you because I needed to know how you'd treat me when I had nothing. And you failed that test every single day. I was under pressure, she snapped. You don't know what it's like to try to keep up with you, to feel like you're constantly watching me for flaws. I stared at her. You think this is about flaws? Maya, I would have given you everything if you'd just been honest. If you'd asked how I was once in a while. If you'd loved me without calculating the ROI. There it was. Her mask slipped. You think you're some kind of hero now, she said, voice rising. You hide a life-changing secret from your girlfriend and then act like you're the victim? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't the victim. And I wasn't the hero either. I was just the guy who finally saw the truth and couldn't unsee it. She stood, grabbed her purse, and muttered, You'll regret this. Maybe I will. But as I watched her walk out of that cafe for the last time, I felt nothing but relief. That night, I opened a bottle of whiskey I'd been saving and sat on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. $5.7 million, and all I wanted was peace. I was finally getting it. You'd think the hardest part of winning the lottery is deciding how to spend it. It's not. It's deciding who you still want around once you do. After Maya stormed out of the cafe, I didn't expect her to come back. Not for closure, not for forgiveness, and definitely not for revenge. So when the letter arrived a week later, I assumed it was junk mail. A vanilla envelope, no return address, just my name in shaky handwriting that didn't match hers. Inside was a single-page printout and a post-it. Thought you should see this. Jay? The printout was from some Reddit post. An anonymous thread titled, My boyfriend won the lottery and lied to me. Am I wrong for being furious? The username was something generic. Throwaway 999X, or whatever. But the content? Oh, it was Maya. Word for word. She'd turned our story into a viral softfest. Painted herself as the devoted girlfriend betrayed by the evil, conniving boyfriend who hoarded millions while she scraped together grocery money. There were thousands of upvotes. Hundreds of comments. Dump him, sis. He's trash. You're better off. He's clearly controlling. He manipulated you into staying poor. My stomach flipped. Not because I cared what strangers thought, but because Maya had just rewritten our history for a courtroom of armchair psychologists, and she was winning the trial. Worse than that, she didn't even tell the story well. She left out every detail that mattered. Jordan, not even mentioned. My reasons for staying silent, twisted into emotional abuse. It was like watching someone plagiarize your trauma and get praised for it. I crumpled the paper and lit it in the sink. It felt dramatic at the time. Stupid, in hindsight. All it did was fill the apartment with the scent of burned toner and bad decisions. The post-it stayed, though. I kept it on my fridge. Jay was Jordan, obviously, which meant he'd seen it too. I texted him. Thanks for the heads up. He replied, you okay? I wasn't sure how to answer that. Instead, I did something impulsive. I got in the car, my car, the one I hadn't even driven much since the win, and started driving north. No destination. Just miles. Just silence. I stopped in a town I'd never heard of. Population under 3,000. A diner called Mel's. Cheap coffee, the kind that tastes like regret and nostalgia. A waitress named Linda with bright pink nails and a smoker's laugh. You passing through? She asked, pouring refills without asking. Maybe, I said. You look like you're running from something. I smiled. Maybe. It was the first time in months someone talked to me without wanting something. Without knowing my name, my account balance, or my girlfriend's side of the story. I stayed in a cheap motel with flickering lights and a bathtub that looked like it had seen some things. But I slept. Deeply. For the first time since that cursed ticket changed everything. Over the next few days, I realized something no one talks about when it comes to sudden wealth. It's not the money that changes you. It's the way people start orbiting you like you're the sun, and not in a warm, life-giving way. In a gravitational, desperate way. Like they're hoping to latch on before you drift too far. Maya had orbited me. So had others. Co-workers who suddenly remembered I existed. Distant cousins appearing from nowhere. Even my parents, who hadn't called in months, suddenly became interested in my future plans. It was exhausting. In that motel room, surrounded by beige wallpaper and the distant hum of ice machines, I made a decision. If I was going to do anything meaningful with this money, it had to start with subtracting, not adding. Cut the noise, the guilt, the ghosts. So I did the unthinkable. I deleted all my social media. Every account. Gone. Then I wrote checks, large ones. But not to Maya. Not even to Jordan. I gave anonymously. To shelters. To a teacher's fund in my old neighborhood. To a single mom's GoFundMe that had stalled out at $342. Every time I hit send, I felt lighter. Like I was peeling off layers of old skin I didn't know I'd been wearing. I spent another 2 weeks drifting. Desert towns. Mountains. I even watched the sun rise in silence from the hood of my car, wrapped in a thrift store blanket, my phone buried somewhere under a seat. It was during one of those mornings that Jordan called. Hey, he said, cautious. You all right? I'm better than all right. There was a pause. Maya's posting again. This time, she's saying you emotionally manipulated her into staying in the relationship. I sighed. Let her. She's got people calling her a victim of financial abuse. Whatever the hell that means. It means she lost the narrative and is trying to keep the spotlight. Let her have it. Doesn't it bother you? It did, I said honestly. But I think I needed to be the villain in someone else's story to finally stop pretending I was the hero in my own. Jordan was quiet for a long time. Then, you still want me to keep the car? I gave it to you, didn't I? Yeah, but I don't want it if it means you're out there alone. I smiled. I'm not alone. I'm just finally by myself. And for the first time, that didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like freedom. She lost me the moment she turned our life into a sob story for strangers. But what she did next made me wonder if she'd ever really wanted me at all. I returned home 2 days later. Not because I missed it, but because I figured eventually, the silence would draw attention. And attention was the last thing I needed more of. The apartment still smelled faintly like her perfume. That sweet, powdery scent she used to spray on the sheets like it was air freshener. I threw out the pillows and opened every window. The place was still mine technically, but spiritually, it belonged to the version of me that let her unpack her dreams into my drawers and leave her bitterness in my fridge. I walked through it like a stranger, inspecting someone else's bad decisions. I was halfway through boxing up her leftover things when I found it. A notebook. Not mine. Not one I'd ever seen before. Stuffed behind a stack of old mail under the coffee table. I opened it, expecting lists or ramblings, or maybe that awful poetry phase she'd gone through in our first year. Instead, I found numbers, dates, names, amounts, and beneath it all, notes. Sharp ones. Calculations. Dinner at Itoil, $218. Paid by him. Complained about tip. Loan for car repair, $600. No payback expected. Birthday gift from him, mid-range. Value, $150 max. It wasn't a diary. It was an inventory. A ledger of everything I'd ever spent, or hadn't spent, on her. By the 5th page, I felt physically ill. This wasn't some love-struck girl trying to make sense of a breakup. This was someone keeping receipts. Someone planning an angle. I closed the notebook gently, like it might explode. And in a way, it already had. I finally saw the truth laid bare. Not just the manipulation, but the intent behind it. This wasn't someone hurt by love. This was someone inconvenienced by losing access to power. My power. And the next morning, it got worse. I was making coffee when my phone lit up. An unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it. Hello. Is this Mr. Walker? The voice asked, overly formal. Yes. This is Detective Renee Hall with the Financial Crimes Division. I'd like to ask you a few questions about a recent report filed against you. I froze. I'm sorry, what? There's been an allegation of financial abuse and fraud. It was filed by a former domestic partner. We're not accusing you of anything. We just need to clarify a few details. My mind spun. You're serious? I'm afraid so. Would you be available to come down this week? I scheduled the meeting for Friday and hung up without saying goodbye. My heart wasn't pounding. It was flatlining. Maya had filed an official report, turned the Reddit narrative into real-life consequences. This wasn't heartbreak. This was warfare. I called Jordan. She's trying to destroy you, he said. This is insane. She's smart. I muttered, pacing. She knows it won't stick, but the stain's the point. Even if I walk away clean, I'll be walking with mud on my shoes. You're gonna fight this, right? Of course I am. But that's not what scared me. What scared me was how calmly she was orchestrating all this. How coldly. I expected pettiness. Maybe some social media slander or a rumor or two. But dragging me into a police investigation? That was next-level spite. Friday came fast. The precinct was gray and smelled like printer ink and worn-out nerves. Detective Hall was polite but firm. She asked a lot of questions. Some reasonable. Some laughably biased. Did you ever restrict her access to joint finances? We never had joint finances. Did she express financial distress while you withheld information about your wealth? I didn't withhold anything. I had personal finances. She had hers. And yet you gifted her brother a luxury vehicle. Yes. But not her. No. She raised an eyebrow. I gave him a car because he never treated me like a resource. She did. Every day. There was a long pause. Detective Hall closed her notebook. I think I've heard enough. I left the building without handcuffs, but with a nausea that lingered for hours. The weight of being misunderstood, not by friends or Reddit users, but by the law, was something new, something terrifying. Maya didn't just want me gone. She wanted me ruined. And somehow, that didn't make me hate her. It made me pity her. Because if she could twist love into a weapon that sharp, it must have cut her too on the way out. The law didn't take me down. She couldn't ruin me with lies. But what she left behind, that did something worse. The case didn't go anywhere. There was no arrest. No charges. Just a formal inquiry that evaporated into bureaucracy like breath on a mirror. A week later, I got a letter in the mail saying the investigation had been closed due to lack of evidence of misconduct. I didn't feel relieved. I felt exposed. Like someone had walked through my memories with muddy boots and then left without even apologizing. Jordan came over that night. He brought beer and silence, which is exactly what I needed. She's not gonna stop, he said eventually, eyes on the muted TV. I know. She's not even trying to win you back. She's just burning everything. I nodded. Because if she can't have me, then she wants everyone to think there was never anything worth having. He cracked open another beer. You gonna sue? For what? Defamation? Good luck proving damages when all I did was disappear. He frowned. You don't deserve this. I looked at him. You know what I deserved? A conversation. A real one. Not a ledger. Not a social media campaign. Just her, sitting down and saying, I feel hurt. I could have respected that. Instead, I got this, a scorched earth breakup with a trail of passive-aggressive memes and Reddit pity parties. I started giving more money away. Not as penance. Not even as therapy. Just because I didn't want it to define me. Not after everything. I met with a lawyer and set up an anonymous trust. I started writing again, not screenplays, not novels. Just thoughts. Pages and pages of things I'd never said. Some about her. Most about me. About how easy it is to confuse survival with silence. How we carry people longer than they ever deserve to be carried. Then, about 2 months later, it happened. Jordan texted, check this. It was a link to a new Reddit post. Update. I accused my ex of financial abuse. Now I might have gone too far. Same throwaway account. Same writing style. This one was different though. It reeked of fear instead of rage. He didn't fight back. He didn't sue. He didn't even call me. And now people are questioning my version. They're calling me manipulative. I've lost friends. My job put me on review. I just wanted closure. I think I ruined the one person who ever really saw me. The comment section was a bloodbath. You weaponized the system. You lost a good man and blamed him for it. This post is damage control. Too little, too late. I didn't comment. I didn't even upvote it. But I stared at the screen for a long time. Because for the first time in months, she sounded like a person again. Not a victim. Not a villain. Just a deeply, painfully broken person who finally realized she wasn't just playing a game. She gambled with something real and lost. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't want revenge anymore. I just wanted to be done. And that's when I decided to leave for good. I sold the apartment. Gave Jordan my old car, the non-Tesla, the one with the bad brakes and character. Donated every last piece of furniture that reminded me of her. The couch she picked. The mirror she insisted made the place feel bigger, Even the stupid wine glasses we never used because she preferred tequila. Then I bought a cabin. Small, wooden, quiet. In a town where no one knew my name. No headlines. No whispers. Just trees that didn't care about my net worth and a porch that creaked like it had something to say every time I stepped on it. The first night I slept there, the silence didn't scare me. It felt earned. And every morning since, I've woken up knowing exactly who I am. Not a lottery winner. Not someone's villain. Just a man who learned the hard way that money doesn't change people. It just shows you who was never really with you to begin with.